guys, welcome back to my channel. So this vlog is going to be all about month 2 of my exchange. So one of the things I did this month was go to a river cleanup, and there was a group of us exchange students who all went together, and I had a dance rehearsal that morning, so I got there like 2 hours late, and by that time there was not much rubbish left to pick up because it's like a big community thing, and so there wasn't really much left to do after I got there. But then there was like this barbecue lunch afterwards that everyone went to, so I got to go to that. There were also a lot of forest fires during this time, and it was quite scary because they were actually getting people's houses. People had to be evacuated because the forest fires were coming onto their house. So we were very lucky that we didn't get a forest fire on our house, and as it started getting colder the fires thankfully stopped, and so we don't have any fires anymore, which is great. One time I was actually riding to school on the bus, and my bus driver called out to everyone and he was like, "Oh, do you guys hear what's happening at your school?" And we were like, "What?" And he said that someone had phoned in a bomb threat, but then he just kept driving us to school. He was like, "Yo guys, there's a bomb threat at your school, but let's just keep going there." But then we got there and it turned out that the fire alarms had just gone off from something in the cafeteria, so I'm not sure why he thought it was a bomb threat. But we also had this thing called Club Rush, and that is when all the clubs in the school set up a little booth at lunchtime, and then you can go around and talk to each one and see what clubs are all about, and they often sell stuff. Like I was part of the dance one and we sold Rice Krispie treats and lemonade, and there were other ones selling frappuccinos and biscuits and stuff like that. Over fall break my host family and I went on a 7-night cruise to Mexico, and it was like super last minute, so it only cost us $300 a person. It went to Cabo San Lucas, Mazatlan and Puerto Vallarta. Because fall break is only 9 days, and the Friday night after school finished we had to go home and then pack, and then we left at about 11 p.m. and we drove through the night down to LA, and it takes about 7 hours to drive to LA from where we live, and at about 6 in the morning we arrived in Santa Barbara and we met my host brother for breakfast. And we had bagels. Bagels are a really big thing here. They're not really common in New Zealand. I never really see people eating bagels, but they're really big here. That evening we drove about an hour to LA and stayed in a hotel because our cruise was on Sunday. And we noticed that across the road there was this store called the 99-cent store, and it was huge, and so I really wanted to go inside, and we went in and it was like a grocery store. There was all these name brand things for $1, and in America you get taxed on like everything except for groceries, so it was the one thing that was actually 99 cents. And honestly, if you lived close to there you could live off like $20 a week probably, because everything is crazy cheap in there and you could like bulk make your meals. We then drove to the port and we got on our cruise, and it took a while to get through the line of everyone trying to check in, but then we eventually got on and put our bags down, and then we went in and found the buffet. And on cruises everything is all you can eat and it's free. You don't pay for your food on a cruise, it's included. So we got on and we went straight to the buffet, and it was crazy. There was so much food. There was the buffet, which was massive and had like every kind of food you could want, and then there were 2 of these super fancy restaurants that you could go to for free as well, and at those you actually had people serving you, and you could order like 5 entrees if you wanted. You could have as much food as you wanted. The entertainment on the cruise was also amazing. They had like 4 or 5 live shows a day, and they had all these game shows and stuff you could sign up for, and there was this teen club. Me and my host sister went there and we tried to sign up. On cruises they give each person a swipe card, like a key card, to get into their room, and it's also linked up to a credit card, so you use it to pay. They don't like accept money on the cruises, and then we had to use them to sign up for the teen club, and my host sisters went through fine, but then we tried to do mine, and even though it said my name on the front, it had all my host dad's information when she swiped it, and so we had to go down to the front desk and get it all changed. So we finally got signed up for the teen club, and we went in and everyone was about to play a game of photo scavenger hunt. We were kind of in 2 big groups, and so my host sister and I decided to like split off and make our own groups, and so these 3 other guys joined our group, and we actually ended up winning the scavenger hunt, so it was good that we split off. So the first day we were in Mexico, we were in Cabo San Lucas, and the first place we went was the markets, and nothing had a price. If you picked up something, someone would come up and be like, "Oh, you want to buy this? I'll give you a good price," and then you would have to kind of like barter with them, and I don't really like doing that because I feel bad trying to like bring the price down, but then I also know that they just put a really high price on it because they know people will try and bring it down. And then we walked around for a bit and we found an actual store with prices, and we saw all these things that cost like $5 and they were trying to sell at the markets for 20. and so I didn't really feel bad anymore about not buying anything from the markets. We ended up getting a water taxi over to the beach, and so we swam in the beach and the water was really warm and it was so clear, and so we stayed on the beach for a couple hours. I got pretty sunburnt. Oops. And then at about 4, I think, we had to get back on the boats that would take us back to the cruise ship. And then me and my host sister went to the buffet. We went to the buffet like 4 times a day, and we ate a lot of french fries. The second place in Mexico we went was Mazatlan, and our cruise ship actually docked, so we didn't have to get boats to the shore, we just could walk off. And then when we got off the docks, we walked around for a bit, and it was scorching hot. It was almost unbearable. It was so humid, and so we were looking around for a beach because we were desperate to get in the water, but the part that was within walking distance was really rough and grey and rocky, and so we just kept walking along. And then we saw these cliff divers who were jumping off really high cliffs and then diving into the water, and they would do that for tips. And then these other guys who were on the footpath came up to us and they were like, "Oh, you watched the cliff diver? Give us the money, we give it to him." And we were really unsure if they were actually going to give it to him or if they were just trying to like scam his money off him, but we gave him some money and we just hoped that it would actually make it to the cliff diver. After that we got a taxi to the beach, which cost I think about $8 or something, and it was a big open air taxi. It kind of looked like a golf cart, and our taxi driver was so cool. He like took us on a little tour because he wanted to show us where he grew up, and he told us all these cool things about the island and all the stuff that you could never have really got even if you like booked a tour, because it was so real and he was just saying what came to his mind. And then he dropped us off at the beach and we stayed at the beach for a while, and then we went to this place for chips and salsa, and we had asked our taxi driver to come back and get us at about 3:30, and so while we were sitting there eating our chips and salsa, he came up at about 3 and he saw us there and he said that he had just come to wait for us, and so we invited him to have chips and salsa with us, and he told us more stories about him growing up and everything. And the last place we went in Mexico was in the middle of a city. It was Puerto Vallarta. We got there and we got on a bus because all the taxis were saying it was going to be like $30 to take all of us somewhere, and then we got on the bus and it was 50 cents a person, and it was crazy hot on the bus. It was like a sauna, and then the bus driver was driving pretty erratically, but I guess that's what they're used to. We eventually got to this cathedral and we got off and we took some pictures, and then we walked around all the little markets. And then as we were walking past, this lady called out to me and asked if I wanted my hair braided, and so then I got like 4 braids along here going back, and that cost me $5, and it was really cool. They stayed in for like a month. We found this store that was having a like 70% off sale because it was closing down, and so all the stuff inside was super cheap. I got one of those woven blankets for $3, and at the markets they were trying to sell them for $40. After that we had 2 days on the boat where we didn't dock or anything because we were going back home, and me and my hostess decided, because we were in a inside room and it had no windows, if you shut the door and turn the lights off, it could have been midnight for all you knew, that we would see how long we would sleep for if we weren't woken up or like interrupted or anything. My host sister actually slept till 2:30. I woke up a few times though because my host parents were coming in and out of the room. But then we got up and we went to the buffet and we went to some shows, and we actually ended up hanging out with that group of us from the scavenger hunt for the entire cruise, and we became really good friends and we're still in contact with them now even 2 months later. It was really sad when the cruise was over having to like organise our own food and make our own breakfast and stuff like that, because we had gotten used to just going to the buffet and picking whatever we wanted. Another thing that happened that month is I turned 18, and it's not really a big deal in America to turn 18, so it was a bit weird, but I woke up and I actually had a dance rehearsal that morning. It was a Saturday, and my host mum had made me fried eggs and french fries for breakfast because she knew that those are like 2 of my favourite foods. And then after my dance rehearsal was finished, we went to Six Flags, and that was super fun. But on that day it was super crowded because all the key clubs from all the schools around Northern California had decided that on that day they were all going to come to Six Flags, so the lines were upward of 2 hours long for all of them. We'd actually bought season passes because they were cheaper than just getting a 1-day entry for some promotion or something. But we decided that it was too crowded because it was like the middle of the day, so we went and we got food at a pizza place, and across the road from the pizza place was another one of the 99-cent shops, and I really wanted to go in there, and so we went there and I got some lollies and stuff. And then at about 6 we went back into Six Flags and we looked at all the scary stuff because the whole park was decorated for Halloween and they had all the like Fear Fest stuff happening. On the way home we stopped and we got Slurpees from 7-Eleven because that was a thing I have on my bucket list because we don't have 7-Elevens in New Zealand. Because I'm a senior, I had to get a picture taken for the yearbook, and that was good because I did not want them to use my ID photo, and so you have to pick one of 4 approved photographers. One of them had this deal that for $5 you could just get the one photo for the yearbook instead of getting like a senior portrait package, which were like $100. And so I just got the one photo for the yearbook, and I was super glad that I didn't have to pay a lot because that is not something that an exchange student can afford. On Halloween, we woke up and then we went over to our grandparents' house and we carved pumpkins. And it was my first time carving pumpkins, and it was a lot harder than I thought to get the inside stuff out. And that was probably the hardest part, was trying to scrape out all the strings and seeds on the inside. And my pumpkin ended up turning out really good. I was super happy with it. And now it's all rotten and gross looking. And after we had lunch and everything, we came home and we started trying to figure out what we were going to wear for Halloween that night. And of course we hadn't decided what we were going to be until Halloween night. But I ended up being a porcelain doll, and my hostess ended up being a fairy, and my cousin ended up being the guy from Saw. We went out into the city and we did trick-or-treating, and we went a bit late because it took us a long time to get ready, so we were there at about 9:30, so not many people had any lollies left, but we still actually got a decent amount, and some of the houses were just giving like handfuls because they wanted to go back inside. And so that was a really fun night, and I'm super glad I got to experience it because it's not really celebrated in New Zealand. At my school we had a blood drive, which is where you get your blood taken and it's given to hospitals and stuff to save people's lives. So I went along and I like sat there and waited for my turn, and I filled out all my information, and when I went to get my blood tested to see if I had enough iron in it, I was 0.2 off what my iron levels needed to be. Oh, another thing that happened is me and my host family were driving back from a dance class, and it was nighttime, so it was dark, and then we're driving along the highway and suddenly my host mum goes, "Oh no." And then I thought, oh my gosh, we're gonna hit a car, we're gonna die, we're just gonna like rear end this guy in front of us. And then this deer jumped and whacked into the bonnet of the car and then like flew off the side. And we were on a highway, so we couldn't stop, so we just had to keep going. And then when we got home, we looked at the car and all the front had been like smashed in, and all of the headlights were smashed. And the thing is, the deer here, they just don't ever think, they just always run across the road. You always hear about people hitting deer because they just don't look, they just go, oh yep, I'm gonna run across this road even though I see headlights coming at me. And they also break into people's gardens and eat all their fruit and vegetables. I've honestly never seen so many deer in my life since I've been here. So I've been telling my family about the pita pit where I worked when I was in New Zealand and how much I loved it, and I like described the food to them, and so they really wanted to go to one as well. And we found out that there was one in Chico, so we went to Chico and we went to the pita pit, and it was amazing, and I still love pita pit. And then we also went and looked at the Chico State University, and it was really pretty. And even though it was freezing cold, we also got ice cream from Cold Stone Creamery, which was really good. So yeah, I think that's all the interesting things that happened in my second month here, aside from going to school every day. It went from really warm to really cold in that month, and now it is freezing and there is basically no natural light coming through the window, so that's why I'm having to film outside, even though it's really cold. But yeah, that's all for today's videos. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to comment and subscribe if you want to see more of my videos. And also, if you have any ideas of videos you would like me to make, just put them in the comment and I will do my best. Alright guys, I will see you next time.